Hey everybody, Troy here. Welcome back. We are working our way through my web series on the fundamentals of local area network management in Windows Server 2022. Now we are deep in DNS. If you're not joining me from my previous video, have a look in the description below. You're going to see a link to the video where we deployed a standalone DNS server using Windows Server 2022. We configured primary forward and reverse lookup zones for IPv4 and IPv6. We verified using NS lookup. This video is a continuation of that, where we're going to build a second DNS server, another DNS namespace, and we're going to configure a transfer of records between a primary and a secondary zone. As always, first things first, have a look at the links below in the description, chapter by chapter by chapter. Jump to any piece of this video that you're after, or walk with me through the whole thing and we'll see the picture come together before our eyes. Let's take a look at our topology and see what we're working with. Now, as you can see from the diagram, we are dealing with two separate and distinct independent local area networks joined by a router. On the left-hand side, we have the bacon.com environment, and it comprises of one virtual machine running a Windows Server 2022 operating system running the DNS role. It is resolving queries for clients such as this guy right here, PC01, who lives on the same local area network. Note, no Active Directory. I'll stress that again. We've got another video in the series on Active Directory and DNS deployment. This is a standalone environment. Now, on the other side of the router, we have the eggs environment. This namespace is eggs.com, and it is anchored by another server running Windows Server 2022, and it is called DNS-eggs. Now, here's what we want to do with this particular video. What I want is this client to be able to find out answers to queries about objects on the eggs network. What I don't want to have happen, though, is I don't want to task the PC with traversing this router to get its queries answered. What I want to do is I want to take the authoritative records, the primary zone records that are held by the DNS-egg server, and I want to transfer those via a zone transfer to DNS-bacon. What that'll let me do is whenever the client PC01 wants to learn something about a resource over on the eggs network, it's going to ask DNS-bacon, and DNS-bacon will have the answers. Now, that's going to solve a lot of problems. What that means is that client PC simply looks locally for the answers to its queries. Not only will DNS-bacon know all the answers for records on the bacon.com network, but it's going to learn all the resources on the eggs.com network, and the PC01 does not have to go through a lengthy network environment to get the answer. So in order to make this work, we need to configure DNS over here with a zone transfer to DNS-bacon. Let's get it done. Now, in this case, what's already going on is bacon is running. I did this in the other video and I haven't changed it. I've got a let's bring up Server Manager and show you. I'm going to pop into my DNS snap-in, and you're going to see that I've got forward and reverse primary zones for bacon.com. Inside here, I've got IPv4 and IPv6 forward lookup records, A and quad A records for DNS-bacon, as well as PC01. In the reverse lookup zones, the PTR records are allowing me to resolve queries that tell me the name of a particular object based on its IP. So if NS lookup says I want to know which is what's the name of the device at 192.168.0.10, the query will result in the answer of pc01.bacon.com. Now, we tested that in the other video. That's still working. What we're going to do now is we're going to build a primary, forward, and reverse lookup zones in the eggs environment, and then we're going to transfer all that information over here to bacon. Now, I'm going to do that as quickly and as efficiently as I can. and that's going to give you a little bit of a review on how we do this, but you could skip ahead if you're pretty comfortable with setting up these primary, forward, and reverse zones. Now, I've already installed DNS on this server. I'm going to load up the DNS snap-in, and let's rip through and build some records for DNS eggs to manage. What I'm going to do here is just expand, and I'm going to right-click, create a new forward lookup zone for the, and it's going to be a primary zone for the eggs.com environment. Let's take a quick look here as my wizard guides me through the creation. It's going to create a new file with that file name. Again, this is a standalone installation, no AD. I want manually to control the addition of the record, so I'm not going to allow this thing called dynamic updates. Let's flip through. That's done. Pop into eggs. I'm going to do the same thing I did in the other video where I verify the accuracy of the record. A right click on the properties will show me that if I pop into the various tabs, everything looks great except for the fact that I still have this issue with the resolution of the name servers. Let's fix that with a quick edit. I'm going to resolve the addresses. Now the eggs network is 10.10.10. This machine is .1 on a /24, and the IPv6 address is 2001 ABA:1. Like the dancing queen it is. I'm going to click OK. I'll hit apply. Everything's great. Let's add the A record for the server. I'm going to go DNS-eggs. There it is right there, and the IP address is 10.10.10.1. I can't do the record yet, the pointer record yet, because I haven't created that secondary, that reverse lookup zone is what I'm trying to say. Let's do that now. I'm going to right click, create a new zone, a new reverse lookup zone. Let's do it for a primary zone IPv4. Click yes. The network ID here is 10.10.10. And that will create the DNS file. Again, no dynamic updates. Finish. Away we go. Let's check that. For validity, I'm going to go to properties. I'm going to update that pointer record. Click apply, close, back to my reverse forward lookup zone, refresh. There it is. Excellent. It's set. Let's do the same thing for IPv6. This time I'm going to build the IPv6 reverse lookup zone first. That way when I build the quad A record in the forward lookup zone, it's going to automatically build my PTR record. Right click, new zone, next, primary zone, IPv6. And again, my address is 2001 ABA:/64. 2001 ABBA:/64. That's my network. Check. And I'm going to give it a file name here. Just give it that for me. Eggs. Excellent. Away we go. No dynamic updates. And I'm set. Let's go build a quad A record, forward lookup, and build the PTR record at the same time. Right click, new quad A record. This is DNS-eggs. You see my FQDN is populating right there. The IP address is 2001 ABA:1. And I'm going to create the associated PTR or pointer record on the fly. Everything looks good. Double there. Let's pop in here. Refresh. And there it is. Everything is set. Now I can verify with my particular machine. If I take a look here, I'm going to bring up my command line. Remember, I'm on eggs right now. IP config/all. We go. You can see that I've got 2 DNS servers listed, which is actually its own server. So I'm going to do a quick little NS lookup and validate that I can find DNS-eggs.eggs.com, and I'm going to ask the server at 10.10.01. Excellent. And this verifies a couple things for me. What this verifies is that, first off, the forward lookup, the forward resolution is working. Both IPv4, the A record, and the quad A record are working. And it's also the PTR record's working because this 10.10.10.1 resolved to the name DNS-eggs.eggs eggs.com. Excellent. So this is working fine, and I could verify with the IPv6 as well. But what I want to do now is I want to get ready to transfer this information from eggs to bacon. Remember, what I'm really after is to take all these records here, and I want to transfer them to my buddy Bacon. So when PC1 wants a query answers, it's going to get answered by Bacon. Now, what I have to do here is I have to configure something called a zone transfer. Okay, now the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to go zone by zone and give specific permission from eggs to transfer its information over to the remote server at DNS-bacon. I'm going to start with the forward lookup zone. I'm going to right click here and I'm going to right click here and go to my properties. And first thing I'm going to do is click on my zone tab, and I'm going to send it to the specific server that I want. Now, I'm going to send this to the server at 192.168.0.1. That is the IP address of the server. I'm also going to add the IPv6 address, which is 2002:ACDC. There we go. ::1. There we go. Now, here's what's going on. I can see that I've gotten these red X's, and that's kind of scary. Something's not working. Well, let's make sense of it. What it's telling me here is I'm unable to resolve this. Remember, it's looking to the records within its own authoritative zone to see if it knows the name of the server that resides at these particular addresses. It has no records for it to give an answer. These records don't actually exist on this server. So what I'm going to have to do, though, I'm going to have to go over and I'm going to configure the other half of the trust. So what's going to happen here is I'm going to click OK, and you can see that these servers are permitted, but they haven't asked for permission yet. Let's solve that problem by going back to our friend over at Bacon, and I'm going to open up my DNS manager, and here's what I'm going to do. I'm now going to send a formal request from Bacon to say, hey, I would like you to send me all the records from your zone in DNS-eggs or eggs.com. I'd like to show them here. I'd like to have a copy of those here so I can answer queries in the event somebody asks me about your environment. Now, this is what's known as a secondary zone. I'm going to right click on my forward lookup zone, and I'm going to go new zone. And this time, instead of a primary zone, I'm actually looking for a secondary zone. Again, as it says in the wizard, a secondary zone is a copy of a zone that exists on another server. That server is over on eggs.com. It's DNS-eggs. This will pull that information over from my buddy Eggs. Oh, I gotta go back there. Secondary zone is what I want. Now it's asking me for the zone name. Now remember, this has to be exact. It actually has to match the exact zone name that exists in the remote location. That zone name is eggs.com. That's the designated bounded DNS namespace. I'm going to click next. Now, who's the server with the information? The information is held by a server at 10.10.10.1. Okay. Now, again, it's going to attempt to resolve. Now, again, it's looking at its own database. It's looking at its own DNS records to say, do I actually know the name of the server who lives at 10.10.10.1? It's going to say no. That makes sense because it's not part of the Bacon environment. I'm okay with that unable to resolve. I'm going to click next, and I'm going to hit finish, and let's see what happens here. And there we go. That was quick. It automatically appeared. This doesn't always happen that fast. Just so you know, you might get an X that says couldn't do it or waiting or whatever. There's propagation delay sometimes. In this case, it was pretty quick. And now look at this. I have all the records on Bacon that live on eggs. So if I go, you can see that I've got all my Bacon records here. There's my eggs records, and those pulled. Now, if I go back over to my PC, let's go to my PC. Now, remember, the PC, when it asks for DNS, it does not ask over here. It won't do that. What it's doing is it's saying, hey, I would like to know an answer to a query, and it asks its official DNS server, which is DNS-bacon. So what I want to do now is I want to ask it a question about this particular object. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my command line, and I'm going to do an NS lookup. Okay, now what I'm looking for is a forward resolution. So I'm going to take the name, which is DNS-eggs, get this right, egg.eggs.com. That's the fully qualified domain name of the server, which matches this record. What I want to see is, will it resolve that record right there? Okay, and if I open up the properties, that's the name that I'm typing in. So I'm going to minimize here. Let's go back and let's ask the server dns-bacon.bacon.com. Now again, careful what I'm doing. I'm saying I would like to know the IP address for this record, and the server that I'm asking is dns-bacon.bacon.com. Now that's by default. That is my server, but I've appended it to verify that I'm actually seeing what I'm seeing. That wrong. Let's cancel this .com. There we go. That's what I was after. So now you can see that I have a fully resolved query. So the server, my particular DNS-bacon.bacon.com server at 192.168 has successfully given me the answer for an object, a resource that exists on the other domain. The zone transfer was successful. Let's do the rest, because if I actually ask now, let's do the same thing. Let's do another lookup here. And in this case, what I want to do now is I want to do a reverse lookup. 10, 10, 10, 1. I'm going to say, hey, Mr. Server, do you know what this is? DNS-bacon.bacon.com. I'm going to ask there, and it's going to say, hey, I'm checking. It's going to say, no, I don't know that. I don't have the resource. Well, we know it exists. Let's go over here back to my friend eggs. There it is. Okay, there's my record. Okay, well, this one hasn't transferred over. If I go back over to my friend Bacon, you'll see that I don't actually have that reverse lookup zone. Now, I got to do the same thing zone by zone by zone. So I did that for the first forward lookup zone. I'm going to do these for these individual zones as well. I'm going to right click. I'm going to go to my properties. I'm going to go to my zone transfers. Again, it's allowed by default. Let's transfer to the following servers. Edit. I'm going to add my friend at 192.168.0.1. And I'm going to add my friend at 2002 ACDC 10. Those two. Now again, unable to resolve, completely understandable. It does not know what the FQDN is of those two particular servers. Okay, and so it's going to time out and not going to be able to do it. I'm going to click OK. Let's pop in here. I'm going to hit apply, close. Why don't I do that right here as well? I'm going to do the IPv6, pop into my properties, and I'm going to go to my zone transfers, and let's allow to the following servers again. I'm going to add 192.168.0.1. Excellent. And I'm going to add 2002 ACDC 1. Sorry. That is the IP address over, that's right here. 2002 ACDC 0:1. Excellent. Done, 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 and done. Okay, let's go back and see if we can get these records over here. I'm going to open up Bacon. And I'm going to bring up my snap-in again. Now I'm going to request now. So the zone transfer has been authorized. Let's do the reverse lookup. No, I'm going to right click right here. New zone. Next, a secondary zone. Let's grab the IPv4. Excellent. That network address is 10.10.10. It's creating a file for that IP. The server sending that information is at 10.10.10.1. It will not be able to resolve the name because it does not know the records. But when I hit finish, see if I can get this here. Let's go in here. Oh, there, no, and there. So bam, just like that. No worries. It happened very, very quickly. Again, sometimes you get errors. Don't stress. As long as we had those green checks, the propagation should happen. You keep refreshing. It should be able to set that up. Let's do the IPv6 transfer. I'm going to right click, new zone. I'm going to grab the secondary zone. This is an IPv6 reverse lookup zone. The prefix for this environment. Now, this is the eggs environment, not my Bacon one. And that environment is 2001 ABBA. Okay. IPBA : and that is a /64. Next, the server providing it, 10.10.10.1. And let's throw the IPv6 on here as well, 2001 ABBA : 1. Again, I'm getting that right there, 2001 ABBA : 1. Bam, check, and they got it. 3 zones transferred, 3 zones now created. So the primary zones now, the information from those records has been successfully transferred in all 3 zones. I now have 6 zones on Bacon, 3 primary zones, okay, 1 forward lookup and 2 reverse, So 1 forward primary zone, 2 reverse primary zones. I have 1 secondary forward lookup zone transferred from my pal over at Eggs, and 2 secondary reverse lookup zones. I know it sounds confusing, but you'll quickly see what those are. But now all of the information here has been successfully transferred over. Changes that are made on Eggs will transfer over to Bacon. Let me show you. If I pop back over here, I'm going to go back to my friend Eggs, and let's add a record. Okay, I'm going to right click. I'm just going to add a host file. I'm just going to call this test. Okay, so there's a test record, and I'm going to give it a fictitious address, 10.10.10.10. Sure, I'm going to create that. All right, so that was added. There it is right there, and it's also in my IPv4 reverse lookup. Excellent. Now, I'm going to go take a look here. I'm going to right click and see what happens here. If I pop into my properties, you can see my zone transfers are set to go. Well, how often does it transfer? Okay, well, let's take a quick look and see whether that happened instantaneously. I'm going to go back over to my friend Bacon, and let's see if I refresh. Look how fast that was. It just appeared for me. Okay, so I just simply had to refresh. The change I made on Eggs transferred over to Bacon immediately. Let's see if it showed up in my reverse lookup zone, and it did as well. So what's going to happen with the IPv6 as well? So now you've seen that we've successfully configured a zone transfer between 2 independent namespaces. So let's land this plane. What you've seen here is we started off with an independent environment called bacon.com, anchored by the DNS-bacon server. We had a completely separate environment called eggs.com, anchored by the DNS server called DNS Eggs. I did not want my client sending requests over to this particular DNS server to get answers for resources on the eggs.com environment. I didn't want that. What I wanted was my PC to ask the server to which it's configured. I wanted to ask direct all its queries to DNS-bacon. Now, in order for Bacon to answer questions about objects and queries on the eggs.com network, I had to create a zone transfer. I had to configure a trust between these records and this particular server. So I created primary zones, forward lookup, a reverse for IPv4 and a reverse for IPv6, and I allowed zone transfers to this particular server. Then I went to this server and I created secondary zones that requested the information from the Eggs server, and those transfers happen immediately. And now you can see that as I was adding new records, they were propagating over to DNS-bacon, which means that my client down here, all it has to do is keep talking to Bacon, because Bacon has all the answers, and we're happy. Bacon, you can't go wrong with Bacon. Hope that helped you, everybody. That was zone transfers with standalone DNS servers. See you again soon.